Check, check.
Live and alive.
Live and alive. Live and alive. All y'all come in. All y'all come in this morning. How y'all doing? How are you guys doing today? Let me just get my. All right. See, what's up, man?
Not feeling good, bro.
Oh, you're not feeling good? That's why your
Yeah,
camera's off?
yeah. You guys will be hearing me in the background, but you guys won't be seeing my ugly face today.
You can jump on half screen when you're talking if you want, just so
Okay,
we.
cool.
Yeah. But yeah, we're back. Day two of this trial is actually pretty interesting. A lot of interesting things happen in day two. This is day three, obviously, today. I think they're about to get underway in about an hour's time. So if you guys missed day two, I'm gonna catch you guys up, and obviously we'll be here tomorrow for day three, just to guys catch you guys up on what's been going on, and catch you guys up on what's been going on from my viewpoint, from my perspective. I've been watching a lot of other people react to the trial, and I'm noticing that everybody has kind of like a different viewpoint, a different perspective. So I think I think it's good. I think it's cool that a lot of different creators are putting their are giving you the lens in which they see this trial from, because we all come from different places and we all look at things a lot differently, and that's what helps us to be free thinkers, which is the exact reason why I built this channel, is to help people think for themselves, be free thinkers, and not follow the masses, because when you follow the masses, sometimes the S is silent and you're just following the asses. So, anyways, I appreciate you guys being in. Please like, share, and subscribe. As you jump in, and send this video to somebody who you believe it could help or they might be interested in. All right, let's just jump into it right off the bat, because I want to respect you. See, I know that you're under the weather, so we'll jump in and get through stuff. And I do believe Keefe's up 2-0. Absolutely, that comment there. I think that's Ilya. I do believe Keefe is up 2-0. He said the only blip he had was part of the Mob James's testimony where he was crashing out. Yeah, at the end it was a little bit weird. We're actually gonna we're gonna go through the entire cross-examination of Mob James's testimony, the whole entire cross-examination. Actually, I should just let you guys know right away what we're going to be doing today. So we will go through a little bit of what the medical examiner said, because it goes to what I was explaining yesterday, which was something that Shook was talking about, because he was the only one in the car when Pac was shot. Then we're going to get into something that I think really helped the defense, but I don't know why the defense didn't really harp on it. So we're going to get into that. That was the security guy that was at the parking lot. There's like a parking lot nearby, and he heard the shots, and then he came out and looked, and he saw people, whatever. So we're going to get into that. Then we're going to obviously get into Mob James, and we're going to get into Reggie Wright as well. So that's kind of where we're going to go. And like I said, C's under the weather, so I'm going to respect your time a little bit. Good morning, Christina. How you doing? 100%. All right. So let's first start. Remember when I told you guys yesterday that the way remember there's Pac's cars here, and then the other white vehicle gets right beside on the right side. So this is the passenger side. Pac's in the passenger side. This is the driver's side, and the shooter is shooting out the driver's side, okay, towards Pac. So remember yesterday I told you guys that Pac was like this, like trying to jump to the side, and Shook actually said that Pac was almost jumped into his lap trying to get away from that. Yeah, Reggie Wright is an absolute fraud. And the defense attorney, he started with that. He started with basically talking about that. But yeah, he basically jumped into Shook's lap almost, and he was like this, trying to get away from the shots. So the medical examiner, the original medical examiner, is no longer with us. God rest the dead. This case is like 30 years old. Like everybody knows that most people, a lot of people now, they're either not with us or in jail. But this is a new medical examiner who basically took everything from the old medical examiner and more or less came to the same conclusion. But I want to highlight where she says the basically the fatal wounds were for Pac. Remember, he did live almost a week after this, but I just want to have her explain how he ended up passing away.
This is the right side of the body up by the chest area. You can see the right axilla or armpit in that region. And then you could see some of the sutures of what they call a thoracotomy incision, where they've cut into the side of the chest. And then just below that, this is an entrance gunshot wound.
And then just below that thoracotomy chest, there appears to be a stitched up area. I can move my mouse too, right there. What is that?
That's a sutured chest tube site.
So he had a tube there to help drain some of what was going on in his body.
Correct. And in the previous one that had all the medical intervention, you could see from the left side, there was a similar chest tube on that left side.
Okay, pause it real quick. The reason why she's talking about draining and chest tube is because they actually had to drain 2 liters. If you guys know what 2 liters is, 2 liters is a lot. They drained 2 liters of blood from his lungs. And the reason why, as you can see, what she was talking about, the entrance wound was under basically under the armpit. She used a technical term for what under your armpit is. But you could see he was doing this. He was trying to jump away. As she said, the bullet went under the armpit. It ended up actually getting stuck here between the chest. She ends up explaining that a little bit more. But it tore through his lungs on the way there. So he was doing this, and that's how the bullet went here to here, tore through his lungs, and they ended up removing that lung because it was filled with blood. They had to get the blood out, and essentially the way he ended up passing away is the fact that he couldn't breathe on his own, essentially. And his mother made the decision to say, you know what? Forget it. It's been almost a week. I think it was 6 days. Forget it. Let's just let him rest peacefully. But he was essentially just breathing with a machine because his whole lungs had collapsed. And that's what that wound was. But I just wanted to bring that up because I was just talking about that yesterday. And so it's consistent with what Shook was saying, where he was trying to jump to dodge the bullets.
Yeah. Did you at any point, Jay, heard anything about like the family walking out at this point when they were talking about the autopsy? Like some of the family?
Yes. I did hear that the family walked out when they were going through that. So I mean, that makes sense. I mean, even when most cases where we're dealing with a death, most cases the family walks out when it's graphic. I was actually watching this documentary the other day, and this lady's daughter had been unalived, and she was running to go and see her daughter, and they were interviewing the police officer that was on the scene, and he literally said he ran and tackled the lady. And they were like, why? And he was like, I didn't want that to be an image in her head. It was such a gruesome murder. And I didn't want the image to be in her head of her daughter like that. And I know people want to see, but at the end of the day, he said he's heard enough horror stories. He's been around this a long time that everybody wants that image out of their head. Even though in the moment you would want to see what happened, what's going on, nobody wants to have that image in their head. They'll keep replaying that same image, and it can torture you. So, and I've even heard of people trying to do like get hypnotized and stuff to suppress things that they've seen and images that they've seen, because it literally tortures them in their mind. So I could totally understand why his family would not want to see that those photos.
Yeah, I also saw something where one of the family members said that that he didn't really know how Tupac died and like how many shots he actually got and stuff like that too. You heard anything about that?
I haven't, but it's not his first time getting shot, right? Like this, you know what I mean? So I think I think even Biggie said it. Even Biggie said it. He said when they interviewed him about Pac passing away, he was like, when I heard he got shot, I was just like, again. And he's going to pull through this one. He'll be fine. He'll make a couple records about it. And he said, but then when I heard he died, I was like, damn, like, whoa. I think not only did Pac feel like he was invincible, I think all the people around him also felt like he was invincible. Even you guys will hear testimony that we're going to play today where they thought he was fine. Mob James said that, oh, they just kept partying because they thought he was fine. Right. So there's a lot of people that were shocked that he actually passed away, especially when it wasn't announced right away. You know, if it's announced 6 days, 7 days later, you're like, oh, he's still alive. Okay, so he'll pull through. You don't think that the person's going to pass away after a week, right? You really, when it comes to a shooting, it's like, it's usually, if you're going to pass away, it's going to be within the first day, right? But this was, yeah, a lot of people were shocked. A lot of people were shocked.
From your review, were you able to determine sort of the path of this particular bullet?
Yes.
And what was that?
It entered here in the right lateral aspect of the chest, just below the axilla, the armpit, and then went across the right chest space, went across the right lung, and then ended up coming to rest in what we call the sternal notch. The sternal notch is a location just between where your collarbones kind of meet up towards the center of your chest. So just beneath that, the projectile was recovered.
The nature of that type of...
So essentially, he wasn't just like this. I can't do it because I'm standing. But he was like this. Like he was almost horizontal, almost on Shook's, like his whole entire side and left arm would have been almost on Shook's lap for the bullet to go from here to here. Yeah. All right. So that's enough testimony of this. I just wanted to cover that. It's basically the same stuff as the original findings in the original medical report, but coroner report. But I just wanted to talk about that real quick. Now let's talk about this guy. He is an ear witness. He's not an eyewitness to the shooting. He's an ear witness to the shooting, and he was working at a car park or parking lot right in the vicinity. And he heard him and his colleagues heard gunshots. But I want you guys to listen very closely. This is very important because remember we said it is not what you know, it's what you can prove. And there's a story here that doesn't add up. So let's hear his testimony real quick. Just this part here.
Maybe even 5 each volley. It was a series of pops.
Somewhere between 9 and 15 shots in a series.
Something like that.
He then
9 to 15 shots, he says. Listen to
Leaning
this.
over the retaining wall to see what I could see.
And when you look over the wall, what do you see?
I see a line of vehicles in the left straight lane on Flamingo heading
Pause it.
heading east.
That tracks, right? That tracks. Line of vehicles, because it was a caravan, right? They were all going to 662, which I also found out in this trial. Technically, Shook didn't even own that club. Actually, it wasn't even in his name yet. They actually had only changed the name, and he never owned it. He never ended up owning that club outright. He was in the process of trying to buy it, and they allowed him to change the name and to run his promote his parties through it. But they actually technically didn't. He actually technically didn't own it. I didn't know that. Anyways, so there's a caravan of people. They're all going to the club. And he says that he came and he saw a bunch of cars lined up. Now, let's continue listening to what he says.
And there's several vehicles. There was a white Dodge Stratus at the front, a black BMW behind it, another dark car, and I believe another car, and then there was a white Chevy Suburban behind that, and several more cars.
Do you see anybody outside of those vehicles?
Yeah, there were a number of people standing outside of the vehicles in the traffic lanes.
And do you see any of them armed?
One gentleman was armed, one black male adult, very young, well-dressed. He was wearing a very bright white 3/4 sleeve shirt, black pants, and a black dress vest.
And at the time that you see him, is he firing his weapon?
No, he's not. But he does have the weapon in his hand. It was an automatic weapon, automatic pistol.
Semi-automatic pistol?
Yes.
And is he holding it down? Is he pointing it in a direction?
He wasn't pointing in any direction. It was kind of just off to his side.
What do you see this caravan of cars do?
Well, I looked back because the Metro officers jumped in their cars to pursue. And then when I turned around, everyone was back in their cars again. And they made a U-turn heading west on Flamingo towards Las Vegas Boulevard.
All of the cars in the caravan?
Yes.
And so you see them make a U-turn at Koval and head back towards Las Vegas Boulevard.
Correct.
And those vehicles, you saw the two Metro officers you were with jump in their vehicle to give chase to that caravan.
Correct.
At the time that you're out there and you see somebody with a gun, you've just heard shots fired, is it the conclusion you originally drew that that person was your suspect?
Yes. Yeah. That's what I deduced at the time.
And based upon the officers following that caravan, that's a reasonable assumption that they deduced that as well.
Right. They asked me what direction they were going. They rolled down their windows and were asking me what direction everybody went. And so I
okay, pause it. So I don't even know why they put this guy on the stand. It's just an air witness, but all he did to me is confuse the jury because they're talking about this guy with a gun. It's clearly not Orlando Anderson because we know what Orlando Anderson was wearing that day. It was in the video. He was actually wearing a white shirt, but it wasn't a 3/4 sleeve shirt with a vest. It wasn't well dressed. He was wearing a football jersey actually, right? So he would have just said football jersey if that's what he saw. And if you've seen any photo of Orlando Anderson, he doesn't dress like that. So we would obviously know it's not him. And then he's saying that, and we also know that Shook drove the car. He kept driving after the shots. I think he ran through that red light, and then he ended up crashing in the median, right down the block. So Pac's car wouldn't have been in that caravan at that time. And then obviously the people who were shooting out of the other vehicle, they would have already been gone, right? And so you have left the caravan that's there of a bunch of people who jumped out, which obviously if you're traveling with a caravan, a lot of those people are your security. So it would make sense that there's somebody who jumps out with a gun out of the car because that's probably security trying to give chase, trying to whatever, right? But for him now saying, well, I originally had thought that, I thought that was the shooter, and so did the police, and they started chasing him. You're leaving the door open for the defense to say, so how do you know that wasn't the shooter? He had a gun. You heard shots, so now it's confusing people because now it's opening another thing to say it could have even been that person. So I don't even know why they put this guy on the stand, and I also don't know why the defense didn't question him in that regard, like to ask him, like, you didn't see what happened, right? So for all you know, it could have been, and at that time you thought it was that person, right? And you told the police to go that way because that person with the gun that was outside of the car, they jumped back in their car and they drove that way, right? And you told the police to go that way because that's where they went, right? Yeah. So I don't know why they put this guy on this. The prosecution is doing a bunch of stuff that don't make no sense, but I guess that's what you have to do when you really don't have much evidence, and it's hard to make sense out of the story when it comes to actually bringing facts to the table. And so, like I said, I think we all have an inkling that this is true. The stories that Keffe D has been telling are, mostly what happened. However, you got to prove it. You got to prove it. All right. So let's continue on. I want to get into the next testimony. This is actually my favorite. Out of yesterday, there was one witness that was my favorite, and he reminded me of Woody from remember Woody? I think his name was Woody from the YSL case with what's his name? With Young Thug. He reminded me of that guy. But this is the head of security. So basically how Shook had death rows. He had head of security with law enforcement. That was Reggie Wright. But then he had another head of security, and that was with the Bloods. So he had two heads of security, right? Two types of security. And later on, Reggie Wright actually says the reason why he started doing that is because he couldn't just have gang members as a security, because they sometimes did things that were too extreme and it would get his artists in trouble. And then Reggie Wright referenced Snoop's murder trial, right? Remember, Snoop was on trial for murder, and it wasn't Snoop that actually shot the dude. It was actually the person that Snoop was with, which was essentially a security guard that was also a gang member, right? And so after Snoop beat that charge, what they ended up saying is, hey, we should probably get like some professionals here, like not just a bunch of gang banging security members. Maybe we should get some actual, maybe law enforcement, ex-law enforcement, retired law enforcement or off-duty cops or stuff like that. People who are going to be a little bit more professional, or else we're going to have to run into this time and time again, having to have an artist have to go to face a murder charge because the security got out of line, right? So that's it. Anyways, hey, what's going on? Thank you. Salute to you too. All right. So I wanted to just point that out. And this particular guy, he's the head of security on the gangbanger side. All right. He's an ex-gangbanger. He clearly states that he's not in that life anymore, and he regrets even being in that life, and he's trying to raise his two grandchildren. This is the Woody of this case. All right. But he's highly entertaining, and I felt like he was a really, really great witness. Actually, for both sides, I would say he probably was a better witness for the defense, to be honest. For the prosecution, to be honest, because I think he did hurt the defense at the end there. And I think there was a little bit of a blunder with the questioning with the defense attorney. I think they were talking past each other, and it made for a little bit of a mess at the end of his testimony. So we're actually going to go through all of his testimony today, because I thought that he was the best witness yesterday. All right, so let's full screen that. This is Mob James. For those of you guys who do not know what Mob MOB stands for in their world, at that time in their world was members of the Bloods, so MOB. That's actually how they got the name of the club 662, because if you go on your phone back then, in the phones, had the letters and the numbers. So if you put 662, it stands for Mob, member of the Bloods. But let's just play his testimony. I thought he was pretty honest and actually entertaining. So let's get through it.
First and last name for the record.
James McDonald, James McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Quall, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McDonald, it's fair to say that you're here because of a court order. Is that right?
Right.
That you didn't volunteer.
My job been here.
No. Whoa. What are you doing? Just play the beginning.
Okay, I was gonna skip it to 11:20.
No. We can play the beginning first, and then we can jump into 11:20. I'll let you know when to.
We're ALD.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Quall, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McDonald, it's fair to say that you're here because of a court order. Is that right?
Right.
That you didn't volunteer to come or anything like that.
Not at all.
Okay. But you were instructed by a court that you had to attend.
Yes.
I agree, Mark. I agree.
September 7th, 1996.
And shout out to you, Mark Jack.
Were you at Club 662?
Yes.
What was Club 662?
It was a club that Suge bought, and we operated it. When he opened, I was head of security through the neighborhood. Just a place to go and hang out.
All right,
do the number 662 mean anything?
No, continue real quick. My bad. Just for 5 more seconds.
To the new guys, that was part of our neighborhood 662, okay. MOB.
Okay, MOB. And when you say MOB, there used to be before Apple iPhones and those types of things, when you had to have landlines and you press numbers.
662, yeah.
662. There would be letters under those numbers, and M and O would be under 6. Is that right?
Right.
And B would be under 2.
Yes.
So 662 would be MOB.
Yes.
Um,
All right, you can jump into
Was-
1120 now.
that was to make sure that there wasn't any violence that occurred at Club 662.
Right.
When at some point that night, do you learn that Tupac or Suge had been shot?
That night, yes.
Can you tell me how you learn about that?
Well, people was coming back and was explaining that Tupac and Suge just got shot. Everybody was in a uproar. A lot of people started leaving, trying to get over there on Cobalt. We couldn't leave because we didn't pay to do this here. It wasn't too long after people started coming back, like Heron came back and went to the hospital. The majority of the people was leaving and then coming back because that night they said Tupac was going to be all right. And even still came
Pause
back
that.
with a
Pause
little
that.
bandage on his head. And
You're gonna have to rewind just 5 seconds. You see what he said? That was the sentiment with everybody, that he was gonna be all right. Right. And listen to what he said. He said even Shook came back with a bandage on his head. So he said even Shook came, I'm assuming, back to the club with a bandage on his head. So everybody with Shook was probably saying that he's probably going to be fine. Because he was talking, right? And the other thing is, I know Reggie Wright he's said a lot of things that he's a fraud. He said a lot of things that are not true. But one of the things that he's saying is Shook came back with a bandage on his head. But in Reggie Wright's testimony, which we're going to get into, Reggie Wright said he left the hospital before Shook was released, and that was around 4 or 5 or 6, I think, in the morning. So I was wondering, if you left at 5 or 6, say 5 a.m. and Shook was still in the hospital, then when did he go back to the club? 7 a.m. with the bandage on his head? Because he said he came back to the club with a bandage on his head. Right? So that contradicts Reggie Wright's testimony. Let's continue.
then coming back because that night they said Tupac was going to be all right. And even Suge came back with a little bandage on his head. And we thought everything was good. People kept partying.
So, and when Suge came back, you said he had a bandage on his head. But
the dude said he got shot, but he was grazed, a little scar, but nothing penetrated.
Some people would describe being shot in the head, even slightly.
He described it as that. I mean,
Yeah.
you're wrong.
All right. So when you find out, well, let me ask you this: was Reggie with you when you found out that Tupac and Suge were shot?
Yes.
And did it appear to you in any way that Reggie Wright Jr. was coordinating the murder of Tupac Shakur?
Impossible.
Yeah,
and I say this because you're aware of that.
There was like a lot of conspiracy theories saying that Reggie Wright was coordinating it. And I think that this answer was a really great answer because his answer was it's impossible. And it's stupid that he would even do that because Pac is a cash cow. That's what I used to say when I used to hear the conspiracy theory that Pac was about to leave and Shook set this up. I didn't believe that conspiracy theory because I was like, why would he set up a shooting in which he's right beside the guy that's getting shot? And he also got grazed. That doesn't sound like it would happen. But also, I mean, even if he was going to leave, it doesn't matter. You still own a lot of the music that you guys made together in that short period of time. So yeah, that was strange. But let's continue. And if there is a speed there, to speed it up a little. So we don't need. They're speaking pretty slow.
Some conspiracy theories that Reggie Wright Jr. is responsible for the murder of Tupac.
And it's so not true. His father was implicated, and his father had something to do with it. Reggie Wright used to be a police officer. And here again, I've been knowing Reggie Wright over 50 years. his daddy as a police officer, patrolling my neighborhood. He done took me to jail many times when I messed up. If Reggie killed Tupac, then death row is over with. Tupac was the money source. Tupac was that guy at death row. So Reggie would have had a problem if he would have did that. And Suge, I truly believe Suge would have opened his mouth if Reggie betrayed him like that. So people say what they want to say.
After that night, do you stick around in Las Vegas or do you go back to Compton?
Well, I stayed in Vegas and we left that morning because we knew we was gonna have neighborhood issues, and everybody left and went back to Compton.
Okay, pause it right there.
Neighborhood issues?
Well, you asking me some.
See what he said? So he said, I left because I knew we were going to have neighborhood issues. So I knew I needed to go back to Compton. And then he says, why did you think you're going to have neighborhood issues? And he doesn't want to answer it because everything that he's saying, anything he says, he doesn't want to be used to put Keffe D in prison. He doesn't want this to be used to put Keffe. He even says it. We're going to continue watching. He even says it. I don't want this guy to go to prison. So he's trying to watch his words. What the prosecutor wants him to say is because we know who did the shooting. So we knew that was good. There was going to be something happening in the neighborhood, something called retaliation. And we know who did the shooting. So he doesn't want to say it, but he ends up obviously saying it. So go ahead.
The issues that we was having was heated, and Compton was on fire at the time, and things were happening. And me personally, staying in Vegas wasn't worth it. That man in the hospital, it's time to go in and protect your home front and be prepared for whatever happened there. You know what I'm saying? Like the other side was being prepared and was prepared to do things because Orlando got beat up in there. And that's something you don't tolerate. So you was going to get some repercussion from that and everything else that was going on. So living this life, you got to be ready. If you're not, you might as well just lay down.
Okay, pause that.
You worked there.
For those of you guys who don't know, there was a gang war right after that. I believe it was like somewhere between 10 and 15 people were shot over like a 2-week period of time. And I think maybe somewhere around 3 to 5 people actually passed away from that gang war during that 2 weeks. So there was a lot of violence that followed this in Compton, for those of you guys who don't know. So everybody knew that there was going to be something happening back there. Now the question is not whether there was people from South Side Crips shot Biggie and Pac and Shook. That's not the question. The question was Keefe D specifically in the car, and did he orchestrate the entire thing? Because that's what he's being charged for. Right? That's the question. And if you ask Keefe D, up until this trial, he'll tell you yes. Soon as he gets charged, he's telling you no.
Beating of Orlando, I understand, at the MGM. Were you?
No, I was.
Like we talked earlier, you were at 662.
Yeah.
But are you aware of why Orlando was targeted?
I'm aware of a lot of things. Things that was going on. People ain't talked about it in 30 years. Today ain't one of them. I don't mean to be funny, but here's the thing. A lot of things happened that night. A lot of things happened weeks and weeks after that night. Me or anybody else bringing up the dead is wrong. A lot of people got hurt behind this situation in itself. Living the life and how we lived in Compton is one thing. you bring back all of the guys that made it, like me, I'm 61 years old now, to rehash and relive this situation again. I told every attorney in here that tried to get me to come here, you better treat me as a hostile witness. And I think that's where I'm about to go now, because you're asking me questions. I can't answer those questions.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. And I'm not going to speak on Orlando. Let me ask you something about yourself. There was a rumor that Tupac had knocked you out one time.
I'd have killed.
That would have been your response if that happened.
Yeah, I'm being honest with you and everybody else. I said it on my podcast show. Him,
Oh,
Suge, and my brother. I'd have shot all three of them.
See that? That prosecutor's slick. He goes, you know, there's a rumor that Tupac knocked you out. Right? He's trying to push his buttons a little bit. And he says, I would have killed him if he did that. What the prosecutor is trying to do is he's trying to get the jury to see, oh, you see, if you get punched or if you get beat up, they will kill you. And that's what happened. And Keefe D he orchestrated all this because the punishment for getting jumped is unaliving. He's trying to paint the picture to the jury. He was slick with it. The problem is, I'll tell you guys after. Let him continue. But there's an issue. He didn't go about it the right way.
He touched me.
Why
That's
is that?
how I was living.
Why is that?
That's what I was back then.
And so, is it fair to say that your reputation and your standing in the neighborhood would require you to do something if you're going to get punked by somebody like Tupac?
You don't have a choice, or you can't be there.
I'm sorry. We're doing some side talking. No, that's my fault. I asked, being in the life that you were, if somebody like Tupac is punking you, like by punching you in the face or something like that, you would have to retaliate, or you would lose your place in the neighborhood.
You would have to go back home and fight everybody that called you a punk. You would have to go. There's some rules that you roll with, and some rules you just got to handle. Certain things need to be dealt with, adjusted, living that life. And when I was living that life, it wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts. It wasn't no, oh, you get a pass. No, I was shot, to be honest.
So then you had mentioned, I'm not going to ask you to go into any specifics, but you had mentioned that after what happened here in Las Vegas, there were issues between the neighborhoods.
So here's the thing. He said, this is how the prosecutor screwed himself. And I'm upset that the defense attorney didn't touch on it. He said on the stand, Mob James, if you jump somebody, or if you get punked, or if somebody comes up to you and somebody like Tupac, as in the words of the prosecutor, comes up to you and punches you in your face, your retaliation is going to be that I'm gonna unalive you. That's a retaliation. Or I'm gonna shoot you. That's a retaliation. And that's the life we live, right? He got Mob James to say that. The prosecutor got Mob James to say that. But then what do you need Keefe D for then? If Orlando Anderson is a highly decorated Crip and he's a gangbanger, he already lives by those rules. So why would I need Keefe D to orchestrate and say we're gonna get revenge? I'm already getting revenge. I wouldn't need my uncle to get to do that. And it's his uncle, but they were close in age. It's like there's a lot of uncles and nephews and nieces that are close in age. So they're more like cousins or brothers. But do you see how the prosecutor did not handle that very well? Because you just got the guy to admit that I wouldn't need anybody to tell me. If I was a defense attorney, I would have just said the same thing. I would have mentioned, I said, you mentioned that if somebody like Tupac had punched you in your face, you would have shot him. And you would have been, yeah, I would have shot him. And I would have said, would you need somebody to tell you that you have to shoot him? Or would you just, because you're in that life and you're in that mentality and that mindset, you would have just did it yourself? You would have said, yeah, I would have just did it myself. Would you need somebody to orchestrate it for you? Would you need somebody to set it up? Would you need somebody to put a battery in your back? Would you need somebody to encourage you to do it? Or would you have just done it because that's the life you live? You would have said, I just done it because it's the life I live. So you don't need Keefe D then. You see, I'm so surprised that the defense attorney did not really harp on that and touch on that, because and now there is a rule in when you're trying a case like this, you never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. So it could be that he didn't want him to say, well, sometimes, you know, you need encouragement, because then you would have screwed yourself. So there is that. But what I'm saying is the prosecution didn't handle that very well at all, because at the end of the day, you just got the guy to admit, I don't need anybody to tell me to shoot him. I would have just shot him because that's the life I live. And what they're trying to do in this case is they're trying to say that we can't get Orlando Anderson because he's already passed away. So we're going to say to everybody, Keefe D orchestrated everything. And he told him, you got to go seek revenge. You got to go. But he wouldn't have needed somebody to tell him that. Feel me? How about getting protection, it looks like. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's continue.
How long did that last? Was it like, all right, one day we're good, everything's done, or did it last for longer than that?
No, it was tension in the air for quite a long time, until I guess both sides, and he might agree, just said, let that shit go, because it really wasn't our beef. This was between Suge Knight and Keefe D, and people put themselves in situations like myself. I'm guilty as everybody else. Like myself, I put myself in the situation to protect something and somebody that didn't have nothing to do with me. I did it for a paycheck. I did it also just because. I'm older now. I get it. But we did things for all the wrong reasons at that time, in them days.
Your Honor, we'll pass a witness.
Okay. Cross-examination, Mr. Sim.
Sir, have you ever met me?
Excuse me?
Have you ever met me before?
No,
Have you ever spoken to the district attorneys prior to your testimony here today?
once.
And is that what you're referring to as the time that you told them, like, hey, any attorney here is better treat me as hostile because?
Yeah, I told him I didn't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, so this is where it gets good. This is where it gets good. Y'all buckle up, because this is where I feel like it did help the defense, but I also feel like by the end he was helping the prosecution. This is definitely where it got intense, and then we'll jump into Reggie Wright.
Question for you, sir. This is more for clarification. So on the night of the murder, you were working as the head of security for 662.
Yes.
Explain first a little bit about the club. Was that Suge's club or was it somebody else's club?
Sure, to my understanding.
Okay. And when you were there as head of security, were you there? Had you worked there as head of security prior to this particular night?
We did an event there once before. Yeah, same thing.
Okay. And on this particular night, was this an event like some type of fundraiser or something for police officers or anything like that? Do you recall what the event was
No,
for?
we wouldn't have been there.
Okay.
No.
What was the reason for the event?
It was Mike Tyson fight. Tyson was coming back. Tupac was supposed to perform like other people, and we was there for that.
Okay. Can you describe for us how big the club is so that we can?
30 years ago, a little bit bigger than this room.
So it's relatively, it's not like a 2-story. It's
No,
not,
it's
you know.
small.
Okay. And in terms of the club itself, you were there and you were sharing with us that there were other people that were there.
Yes.
Law enforcement as well as I don't know, people from your side of town.
Oh, law enforcement was outside. The metro was saying, why y'all put words in my mouth?
Sure.
They were outside. We were on the inside. Wasn't no law enforcement mingling with us.
So as far as you know, law enforcement wasn't hired by Reggie Wright to provide additional security.
No,
at
this was
Club
Metro
62?
posted up all over the place.
And so they were there specifically just to like what, harass or just send a warning or what?
No, they were there. Like when you have events in Las Vegas, everybody knows you're gonna see Metro.
So you guys know,
Yeah.
there's three sets of essentially security, right? You got the Bloods, who are security inside. You got Reggie Wright, who is also hired by Death Row, who's also security, but he hires ex-police officers, off-duty cops, retired police officers, stuff like that. But those are kind of your, professional security, right? And then you have a third set of kind of security, even though they're not security, which is just Metro PD, right? The Metro Police Department, the public law enforcement in Las Vegas, because they know there's a there's a club here, there's a Mike Tyson fight. They probably know that the club is at least owned or, you know, closely affiliated to Suge Knight. And so they want to make sure that they send a few officers over there to just make sure everything's safe. So there's 3 different sets of security / law enforcement.
It was posted up, which they do all the time.
But you're telling me that as head of security, you do not know, or you don't believe that Reggie Wright hired the Metro officers to come?
I know for a fact he didn't hire the Metro Police.
Okay. Do you know how many people were on the payroll that night from your security team?
Well, y'all do paperwork different than we did. Our paperwork was getting cash money. Our paperwork was what they call under the table. We had at least 30, 40 of my homeboys there. Reggie Wright Jr. and his security, his company, the people work for him, didn't have nothing to do with what should have paid us for working. So that was 2 different entities, Reggie and Suge. The homies was there for Suge Knight. Reggie Wright hired his company to watch over Suge Knight people.
Right.
So his security did like the right thing.
Oh, I think this is cutting out, see?
So it was a difference, but not on the same paper.
Sure. And once again, the intent was to protect 662, right? To protect the club, protect the people.
I think we cutting out, see?
So we're going to go there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of your knowledge of what happened on that night, fair to say you were
for those guys, can you pause that real quick? If it cut out for you guys, it cut out for me for a second. But basically, what he just said is Reggie Wright Security. They handled things, quote unquote, the right way. So they would, you know, escort you out if you got to leave the club or escort you out of the premises. He said for the Bloods inside that security, he said that we will drag you out. So we would handle it a little bit different. And that's what I was talking about earlier, which is the whole reason why Shook said we should probably have some professional security as well, because that's exactly what happened in the situation with Snoop Dogg, where Snoop Dogg ended up being charged for murder because of the actions of the security guard, right? So in order to not have that, you can't just have a bunch of gangbangers as your security. You have to have some sort of order with people who have been trained professionals. So continue.
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. And your testimony is that you had heard from other people initially that, hey, Tupac had been shot.
Yes.
And you had thought maybe other people were maybe relieved, thinking like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. He's going to be okay.
That's what came back to 662. People that went to the scene, and everybody said Tupac was talking. So everybody came back to the club saying he's going to be all right. So people just went back to, you know, me.
Right. Now, in terms of the that night, you go back to Compton. You live in Compton.
Yes.
You still live in Compton?
No.
At the time you live in Compton, you go back to Compton, and you tell us that there was a lot of tension. Was there? Can you describe that for us when you went back in terms of what kind of tension we're talking about?
You sure you want me to answer that?
Is it going to be graphic?
No, I ain't gonna. I got to raise the word in it, but you asking me a question.
See, pause it.
And what I explained to them.
Pause it. See, that this is where I think it went left. This is where I think it went left for the defense, because when he said, "You sure you want me to answer that?" the defense is like, "Is it going to be graphic?" Bro, no. He's saying, "Are you sure you want me to answer these questions that you're asking me? Because the answer is going to make your client look bad." Right? Like you're asking me to explain the details of a gang war. In explaining that, I'll probably have to start saying, well, because of what happened in Vegas, this is what happened in the hood when we got back to the neighborhood. The defense attorney, he's not asking all that. When he's saying describe what happened, he just means like describe, were there shootings, was there violence, was there this or that. So they're talking past each other, right? The defense attorney should know, though, And when he says when he literally said, treat me like a hostile witness, I don't want to speak on the dead, I don't want to say certain things, he's literally saying it on the stand. And before he got on the stand, he told the prosecution, treat me like a hostile witness, I don't want to be here, and I don't want to be talking on these things, I don't want to speak on them. And the defense attorney is not getting it. So he's just like, would it be graphic? He's like a deer in the headlights. He doesn't even realize that the guy's saying, I don't want to speak on these things. So rewind it 5 seconds and we'll see that part again. They're talking past each other. And this is where I think it went a little bit left for the defense.
A lot of tension. Can you describe that for us when you went back in terms of what kind of tension we're talking about?
You sure you want me to answer that?
Is it going to be graphic?
No, I ain't gonna. I got to raise the word in it, but you asking me a question. I don't. And what I explained to them, I don't want to send him to prison.
Sure.
Even though we don't like each other.
Sure.
I don't want to send you to prison. So that's why I'm here where I'm at and where I am, because I've changed my life. I'm raising my grandkids, teaching them never to be like their papa. And here I am explaining to people what I used to be. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that at all. And you asking me questions that can hurt him. And like I told them, I'm trying to avoid to answer the questions that they might look at me and say, something is wrong.
Well, let me put it this way. Let me help you out with this.
Okay.
So these people right here, what they want to know from you is, did you see who shot Tupac?
I told you no.
Correct. So outside of that question, right, the next question I'm asking you is, when you went back to Compton, was it like a South Side Crip shoots a Piru blood, and then a Piru blood shoots a South Side Crip? Is that the tension that we're talking about?
Do I answer this?
That's a straightforward question. It's a yes or no answer.
Okay.
Did you see that?
When I was a part of that life, I was a part of that. And I was, no, because you asking something that's gonna hurt this dude. And okay, let me stop.
And once again, I want to emphasize.
When we got back to Compton,
Okay.
it was a gang war. People were getting hurt.
Okay.
People was being sought. People were looking for certain individuals from his neighborhood,
Okay.
as well they did mine.
Okay.
But Orlando, him, and certain other people were being sought because people wanted to kill them.
Sure. Were they the only ones that they wanted to kill?
Am I the only one up in here? No, they weren't the only one. It's his neighborhood in particular.
Right.
But they were the main subjects of a gang war. They was in the middle, such as me.
So you're telling us that people back home
See, right there. That's why I'm.
Information that said.
We could rewind in 5 seconds because I know I spoke over him a little bit, but that's exactly what I'm trying to say. The guy does not want to say the reason why there was a gang war is because Keefe D, Orlando Anderson, and the other 2 gentlemen in the car, I forgot what the other 2 gentlemen's names are, but God rest the dead. They all got in a car and killed Pac and shot Shook and tried to kill Shook. He doesn't want to say it. He doesn't want to say that. But the defense attorney to me is asking a question that who cares? We know what a gang war is. Okay, so was it this person shot that person and that person shot? We know what a gang war is. Why are we? What do we do? What are we doing? And now you're saying too many words, so you're speaking past each other. And that's why he's like, do I answer this? Like, do you really want me to say that your guy was involved? I don't want to say that your guy was involved. But what the defense attorney is actually trying to do is say, you didn't see him do anything. It's hearsay. It's rumors that came from Vegas back to the hood and said it must have been them. And Reggie Wright says it too. And I get what the defense attorney is trying to do. He's trying to say nobody, not one person can say it was him in the car. Everybody is just giving rumors. That's what the defense attorney is trying to do, but he's not doing a great job in this instance in doing that. Now, he did try to directly ask him. We'll see it in a second because we're going to rewind 5 seconds. He did try to directly ask him, did you see him shoot Pac? And he said no. So again, it's hearsay, as Aretha just pointed out, right? But it's just there's no receipts. But this guy, the gentleman here, he doesn't speak the same language as the defense attorney. Let's put it that way. Shout out to you, C. I remember C had a friend. He was actually also my friend, and the three of us were hanging out, and they were talking like an intense conversation. I don't remember what they were arguing about, but I'm sitting there, and I know what C is trying to say to the other guy, and I know what the guy's trying to say to him, and I'm just like, okay. After about 2-3 minutes, I'm just like, okay, you guys just both stop. Let me explain what he's trying to say, and let me explain what he's trying to say, because you guys are talking past each other, and that's what's happening here. You remember that, C?
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of times like that, though.
Yeah. All right. Let's pick back up.
Such as me.
So you're telling us that people back home somehow had some type of information that said that that guy, as a bunch of other people, were involved in what?
In the murder of Tupac.
Okay, but my question to you,
Stop.
Can you focus on me for a second, sir?
Yeah, I will.
And I just want to make sure that we're clear, okay? In terms of that information, none of those people were there, right?
What people you be speaking on? The people that was already in the neighborhood, or the people that left Las Vegas that same night Tupac was shot to go home, bear their arms, and go to somebody else's neighborhood to look for somebody? They had to pay it back.
So once again, my question to you is that the information that I'm asking about is the people that back home, you're saying were eyewitnesses to this?
How could people back home be eyewitnesses to something that happened in Vegas? No, that's not what I'm saying.
The people that were here in Las, listen to my question, sir. The people that were here in Las Vegas, you're telling me were eyewitnesses to what happened and went back home. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you, the people that was at 662.
Just answer my question, sir. Yes or no?
I can't
Is it
answer
a yes
that
or no?
without what you call it. You trying to tell me to say something that you're not going to understand. If you let me explain to you.
No, answer my question.
I'm not answering nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, Mr. McDonald, focus for a second.
I am focused. Very
Focus on this.
All right, pause that. We can rewind in 5 seconds.
know what happened.
Shout out to Aretha. Thank you, Aretha, for becoming a new channel member. Shout out to Aretha, also longtime viewer. So I appreciate you, Aretha. Shout out to you. My goodness, you see, you guys are seeing it in real time. They're speaking past each other, and that's why the defense attorney keeps saying, "Listen to my question, sir." But see, when it comes to communicating with somebody, you can't just keep asking the same question over and over and over again and tell the person to listen to your question. You have to rephrase the question, ask it in a different way, and then they'll understand. And so I get it. The defense attorney is trying to say nobody in the neighborhood was in Vegas and saw anything that happened. All they did is hear that this happened. And Reggie Wright says the same thing. Like I said in his testimony, he said, "Oh, I knew there was going to be blowback when we got back to Compton." And they asked him why, and he said, "Because I heard that they jumped Orlando Anderson earlier in the day. I heard that they jumped him earlier, and this is probably retribution." That doesn't mean that Keefe D was in the car. Now, do I think he was? Yes. But it doesn't mean that he was in the car, because nobody's proven this. There is absolutely no evidence. And the defense attorney is doing a good job. But if you're a juror, you're supposed to be partial. So you would have to, it has to be said directly to you. You know what I mean? So this is why I said it goes a little bit left. So let's play the rest of this. It's only a few more minutes, and then we'll jump into Reggie Wright's testimony. I think Christina said Monk's mad.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, Mr. McDonald, focus for a second.
I am focused. Very
Focus on this. My question to you is this. You didn't know what happened that night because you weren't there.
I was at 662.
Right. Do you know who that was there?
I know everybody that was there.
Okay. Like who?
Talk to your lawyer, man. Just do the stripping. I'm not going to explain that. I can't answer that.
Okay, let me ask you this next question then. You are telling us that people back in Compton, for some reason, knew what happened here in Las Vegas.
A phone conversation. People found out when people left Las Vegas the same night Tupac was shot, went straight back to Compton. It only takes 3.5 hours to get home.
Sure.
Yes, it wasn't a problem for people to find out what happened. No problem at all.
They got on their phones, they texted people, they let them know what happened here on the night of the shooting.
Yeah. They had walkie-talkies, they had all kinds of phones. They had ways to call people to say whatever. But when people left Las Vegas that same night, after they found out and got in their cars and went home because it was a situation, Pac was shot. retaliation is a mug. Come on, man. You got, like, it was for real, for real. All of this was for real.
Now, the night of the shooting, did you have a walkie-talkie, a Nextel thing or something like that?
No.
Did Reggie Wright?
I don't know what he had. I don't know how much money he had in his pocket. I don't know what he had on his hip.
But you were the head of securities, but you're telling us you did not have any.
Right way security has nothing to do with the gangbanging security, Pirus, whatever you want to call us. They had nothing to do with us.
Okay.
The phones that Suge had for certain individuals, they had the phones. Like the guy that was bodyguard for Tupac that night. Like some of the guys that was at the Tyson fight, like Suge Knight. Certain individuals had phones. Yes, they did.
Okay, so, all right, I get what you're saying. You're not there, but you're saying other people were.
Yes, I'm saying there was a lot of people there.
A lot of people were there at the shooting that took place.
That was in the entourage, yes.
Let's see. Okay, just one final question. You're here today, and I think the state had asked this question under a subpoena. You're ordered to be here today, right?
Yes.
In terms of that subpoena, for instance, is that's the only reason why you're here is because of that subpoena?
I don't have no other reason to be here.
Yeah. In order for you to get that subpoena, you were served that subpoena back in California
Yes.
by a police officer?
I don't know. He was in uniform.
Okay. And that order required you to go to a court in California?
I had to go to court and pick the bill.
And then that court in California said you have to show up here.
And in that court, I cussed them out and told them, you can't make me do nothing.
Right.
And in that court, they told me that I would be in attempted court. Me raising my grandkids, I'm not going to put my grandkids in the car and move somewhere so y'all can't find me. So all that running and living a different life, I ain't doing it. So I agreed to come. And I explained to everybody in here, you ask me something, I'm going to be honest about. You ask me something I don't want to talk about, you're going to have a problem. Treat me as a hostile witness. You're not going to talk to me and tell me as a grown man what I have to do up here. I'm not going to send him to prison. You are.
So the accusation now is because of the fact that
Yo, we gotta replay that part.
Ask me questions. If I just like
yo, see, I need your reaction to that one. I'm not gonna send him to prison. You are.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, let's play that part one more time. And then he's about to jump off the stand. But before he leaves the stand, he asked the judge, can I say one more thing to everybody? And this is hilarious. This guy was a star witness yesterday. And I saw somebody in the chat, I think it was Yartadi 50 said that he hadn't seen or she hadn't seen this coverage on other channels. I don't know why a lot of other channels haven't been breaking down this particular testimony. Maybe not a lot of people have watched it, but I watched all of the testimony yesterday. Well, listened to it throughout my day, and this was by far the one that I wanted to get into the most. So I'm surprised that other channels haven't broken it down. She, her, they. Okay, perfect. My bad. But yes, thank you so much, Yartadi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right as well. But yeah, she was mentioning that earlier that she hadn't seen this on other channels.
So the accusation now is because of the fact that we're trying to ask you questions, you're blaming it on me.
you asking me questions. If I just like answer your questions, we're gonna have a problem in here, a misunderstanding. And you're asking me something that wouldn't be good for him.
Right. And once again, I just want to look, we're just trying to figure out who shot Tupac. You're telling us that you weren't there to see it. That's all I want to know. At the end of the day, that's it. Right?
Was I in entourage when Tupac got shot? No.
Okay. Nothing else, right?
I was at 62. I mean, that ain't hard. That's easy math.
No further questions.
Anything further, state?
Jesus.
All right, got one more phase and then we'll let you out of here.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for this witness? Seeing no hands? Oh, we do have one. Okay, hang on one second.
Remember I told you the jury be asking some dumb questions? This was another dumb question that the jury asked. This guy, keep in mind, he wasn't even on the scene when Pac got shot. He was at 662. Listen to this question.
Okay, I have a question for you from one of our jurors, if you can answer. Did Reggie Wright Jr. instruct security to not have firearms the night of the fight?
To be honest, I don't know if Reggie Wright told his people the police officers not to have guns, and I don't know why. He showed and tell us because we had ours, and that's the honest truth.
All right. Any follow-up based on that? State?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
I just want to clarify what the witnesses said. You're telling us that you had guns that night.
Yeah.
I just want to know. But you had guns that night, right?
Yes, we did.
All right, thank you.
All right, State. I know you didn't want to be here, but thank you for coming back.
Okay, can I say something? I want to apologize to everybody, but I find this kind of funny, and truthfully, what you're going through, brother, is what you're going through. I didn't want to be a part of that, and I'm not a part of that. So I appreciate everything, and I apologize to all of you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDonald. You are free to go. State's next witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
He gave him a look like you next. Oh boy. All right. Thoughts real quick. See, I know that you're under the weather. We have one more testimony to go through. We're not going to go through the whole thing. That one was pretty long, but there are some highlights that I want to get into. But what are your thoughts on Unc over there? Real OG.
Yeah, he was. I like that, man. I respect him. Clearly, he and Keefe D don't chat very well. But I respect him for saying what he said. And he seemed to still have his best interests at heart too. The attorney, though, have you noticed, Jay, that the defense attorney, he seemed kind of annoyed with this whole cross-examination thing? He seemed like he was getting kind of pissed with the guy.
I think the defense attorney was getting frustrated because he couldn't get his point across properly. It shouldn't have been that hard. His point was, look, you were at 662. You weren't even there. Do you, like other people from the entourage, you might say were there. Nobody said that they saw anything. There's no eyewitness. There's no eyewitness that's going to come in here today. Especially when the guy said, I don't want to send him to prison. When he already said that, he already basically said, hey, I'm on your side. So ask me questions that is going to help not send him to prison. So he should have said something like, did you see him shoot him? No. Were you there in the vicinity? No. You were at 662 the whole entire night, right? Yes. Did you see a video of it? No. Okay. So here's another person that just came on the stand and said, I ain't seen nothing. I wasn't there and I didn't see anything. And every single witness that is an eyewitness or an ear witness, that's how the defense should actually end the cross-examination, which is, okay, you heard the shots. Were you there? Did you see anything? No. I saw a guy with a gun in his hand. Okay, and you thought that was the guy that did the shooting, right? Yes, we already know that's not Orlando Anderson. So another person who just heard something, didn't see anything. Then this guy, I was at 662. I heard that Pac got shot, but I heard he's going to be all right. Then Shook came back and he had a bandage on his head. Okay, fantastic. And then again with Reggie Wright. Okay, you were at 662 too, as well, right? Yes. You had some of your security guys in the caravan. Yes. Okay, fantastic. Did you see him get shot? No. Did you see who did it? No. Done. Right? So I think that the lawyer could have did a better job. Yesterday, I was really impressed. Day one, I was really impressed. Day two, I was a little less impressed specifically with this witness, because the witness literally just told you, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. And I thought he fumbled that a little bit by speaking past him. All right. So let's jump into Reggie Wright. It's the last witness that we're going to get into today. And for those of you guys who do not know, Reggie Wright is, he was the head of, I think it's called Right Way Security. And he's an ex-police officer. His father was a police officer in Compton PD. He was a police officer in Compton PD. And then he became a person that provides private security for people such as Suge Knight. Mainly, actually, I think Suge Knight was probably his number one client, because he did end up becoming the manager or general manager of Death Row when Suge Knight went to prison shortly after this shooting. All right, let's jump into it.
Promise for the testimony you're about to give in this section shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
May I please have you state and spell your first and last name for the record?
Reginald Lilburn, Wright.
Oh, you can go through it. You can pass it.
REGINALD. They came on visiting up for Compton.
How are you familiar with the South Side Compton Crips?
Well, growing up,
Jump to the
in
6
Compton,
minutes.
We all played sports together. And heard
Yeah,
of
that
it
right.
when I was playing at Kelly Park, baseball, Little League baseball, at Compton Northern. Then my time in '85 as a jailer, and then
working the streets of Compton as a police officer from 1889.
Were you familiar with somebody by the name that went by the moniker Keefe D?
Well, heard of him. Had no personal interactions with him at that point, especially in law enforcement. Heard of him, knew of him, but I had no personal contact with Keefe at that time.
So he was somebody that was on your radar, even though you had never met him and already had personal interaction with him.
Heard of him. He was mainly known as well, at one point he was known as a crackhead, but then later on he was known as a drug dealer. And I mainly was a gang guy, and didn't really enforce on the level of narcotics he was working.
All right. So then you had mentioned that after you had left the Compton PD, you formed a company. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, sir. So in '94, initially I was using a private security company because I was kind of in charge of security for Death Row called Code 4. But once I saw I was about to get retired, I opened up my own private company called Right Way Protective Services. And that didn't really get started until about 1995. But in '94, I was using another private company.
And who were your client? Was your client just Death Row, or did you do anything else?
I had a couple of clients, like Honda of Pasadena, which was a automotive dealership, a dealership in Compton. They were repoing people's cars, and they needed a car. But my biggest, 95% of my clients was clientele.
95% of his clients were
Now,
Death Row.
tell me about that. What were you doing when you're saying you're security, or you're a security company that's working for Death Row Records or getting contracted by Death Row Records? What does that mean, actually?
It grew over a time period. In '94, it was just mainly this special events. And then I have a couple of off-duty or retired police officers hanging with the artists in '94. '95, '96, it got a little bigger. Got security at the office, at the recording studios, driving Mr. Knight around, 2 with Mr. Shakur, 2 with Snoop Dogg, Mr. Rodis, and other artists when they went to promotional events like that. So I could pretty much have about 10 officers working a day.
And when you say 10 officers, were the people that you would contract with or work for you in this world, were they largely off-duty police officers?
Off-duty or reserves or retired.
And why is that?
Because they were able to carry guns concealed, where it's not exposed. We had exposed officers at the studio, but mainly the bodyguards were carried their weapons concealed.
And we heard,
and for the training as well.
We heard from James McDonald just before you hit the stand. Was it fair to say that there were Mob Piru gang members also around Death Row Records?
That's correct. Mob, looters, West Side, generally Pirus from the city of Compton.
And are these gangs that are generally associated with the Bloods? Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
And the Crips well, let me ask you, Crips and Bloods, are they an alliance or are they typically in conflict?
Typically in conflict. However, Death Row was a unique situation because one of their main artists prior to Mr. Shakur coming to the label was Snoop Dogg, who was a known Crip from Long Beach. And they all seemed to have a great working relationship prior to my arrival and even during my arrival.
All right. I want to ask you about Bad Boy Records. Are you familiar with a company called Bad Boy Records?
Yes, I am.
And who do
you guys
was
pause that real
Bad Boy
quick?
Records in the mid-90s?
You guys remember? I'm sure you guys remember. Chat. What's the guy that used to apparently do Puff Security? And is it Dean? You guys, let me know in the chat. He was a heavy set guy, just like Reggie.
He was Gene.
What is the name?
His name was Gene.
Gene? What's his full name?
Let me look it up.
Somebody on Gene Deal. That's his name. Yes, thank you, Gene Deal. Reggie Wright reminds me of Gene Deal. He goes from place to place. He tells all these elaborate stories because he was a security for just a couple of years. Like, did you hear what he just said? He said from 94, 95, and 96, Pac passed away, right? And by 97, there was no more death row because Shook was in prison. Thank you, Aretha, and Christina as well, and Ilya. Really just about 3 years, if that, right? And these guys act like they know they've been working with these guys for their entire lives. And like, you guys were exposed for just a couple of years. Gene Deal is the same type of thing. And then they go on these podcasts, they start their own podcasts, they go on DJ Vlad, they collect checks because you were close to somebody for a year or 2 years. Yeah, that's crazy to me. And both of these guys have been caught in several lies and embellishing stories a lot. And the defense attorney actually is going to get into this. Continue.
P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Puffy. I don't know what name he's going by today.
All right, so we'll go with Mr. Combs for now.
Okay.
So Mr. Combs was running a Bad Boy record, and then who would you say is the most prominent artist at that time was?
Christopher Wallace, Biggie Small.
Okay, and then was there tension between Death Row Records and Bad Boy, the Bad Boy Entertainment label?
At what time period?
Well, you tell me. At any point, did tension develop between Bad Boy Records and Death Row Records?
Initially, when I was around in '94, there wasn't. However, some things happened. '95 that started tension between Death Row and Bad Boys.
There's a famous speech that Mr. Knight gives at the Source Awards in New York in 1995. Does that contribute to it?
Yes, sir. That was August 6, 1995. But yes, sir. That was when he let the world know.
And then there's another incident where one of Suge's associates was killed in Atlanta. Is that right?
That was in September 25th, I believe. Yes, sir.
And then is it fair to say that your perception of as security for Death Row Records was that somebody associated with Bad Boy Entertainment may have had something to do with the murder of one of Suge's friends in Atlanta?
That was always the story that was told to us. Yes, sir.
And so is it fair to say by 1995, the end of 1995, that there was significant tension between Bad Boy and Death Row?
Yes, sir.
And to the extent that it even involved violence with regards to Suge Knight's friend being killed.
Correct. That was the first time something escalated to that point. Yes, sir.
As security for Death Row,
Suge blamed, just so you guys know, Suge blamed Puff for that, for his friend being killed. That was, I believe, in 95, 94, 95, something around there. And that's when tensions really started heating up. And then obviously, actually, this was correct what Wright just said. He said that Suge made it public, basically, at the award show in New York. That's when it made it public. But this is the reason why this guy even had the position in Death Row as he did. It's because there was so much drama every year. There was more and more drama every single year. And so they needed more and more security, right? And it came to a head where the fact of the matter is, if you had all this security, you had the Piru security, you had the Reggie Wright and the off-duty police officer security, ex-cop security, whatever you want to call it, right way security. You have all the security. How in the world did these guys pull up beside you at a red light when you literally were driving in a caravan? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. All the security, somebody ain't doing their job. You know, I said this to my friend the other day, and some people might not agree with me, but I feel like these guys were, like, I use Puff for example. I said, I feel like Puff probably feels really guilty for Big's passing as well, because he's a 23, 24-year-old kid, 25 maybe at that time. I think Big was like 22, so Puff was a little older than, maybe 26. But he's in his mid-20s, running around trying to navigate through this record industry, this music industry, running this record label, but also you're involved in street violence or street politics, and you're trying to, you have all these issues. I don't think he was equipped. I don't think Puff was equipped, because again, how does somebody just pull up beside you in a red light when you have all this security and you have a car here, a car here, a car there? They weren't equipped. These guys were not equipped to handle these type of incidents. They just weren't.
Well, we was always on some type of attention when it came to Bad Boys or going to the East Coast, which Suge and I continuously went to the East Coast because he had a lot of business. The distributor, the main distributor, was located out there. The big trade, like the magazines and stuff, was out there. I can honestly say he and I, and maybe a few of his homeboys, went out there at least once a week, once a month, I'm sorry, during that time. When Mr. Shakur came home, we went down a little bit, but we were still going out there, but we didn't go as much.
And when you say when Mr. Shakur came home, at some point did Death Row sign Mr. Shakur to its record label?
It's debated how that happened, but
I'm not asking about the how. I'm just saying, did it happen?
Yes, sir. I believe he came home October the 12th of 1995.
Now, as security for Death Row, were you aware that Mr. Shakur was actually out on a bond, an appeals bond from prison from New York?
Yes, sir.
And I believe the allegation has something to do with sexual misconduct. Is that right? You know, if you don't know,
I mean, something like that. I wouldn't call it that, but yeah.
Okay, whatever it was, there was some kind of issue. This prison in New York, and then Death Row Records posted an appellate bond for Mr. Shakur.
They have some other companies, but yes, sir.
Okay. And then Mr. Shakur does he move to where Death Row is, or does he stay in the New York area, or where does he go?
No, I remember, I picked him up from the airport. Me and one of my security guys named Kevin Hackey. And we took him immediately. We went to Monty's restaurant and ate. Then we went to the studio, the recording studio that night. And from that point on, we got him into a room, took him to the Peninsula Hotel, where he stayed for, I believe, a month or two. And he got a spot on Wilshire, and later on a house in Calabasas.
As the head of Right Way Security, which was contracted by Death Row Records, were you responsible for Tupac Shakur's security?
Yes, sir.
How did you handle Tupac Shakur's security?
Oh, well, I had two guys that were primarily always assigned to him. One guy was a guy by the name of Kevin Hackey, who was with him a lot at the beginning. Later on, towards the end, a gentleman by the name of Frank Alexander was the one that worked with him as well. And then I'll always have additional guys, like Al Giddings as one of them fill in for him when no guys wasn't available. But generally always had one security guard with him. After this particular song came out, about May or June, we upped it to 2 security officers.
Now, you mentioned a particular song came out that changed how you handled Tupac Shakur's security. What song are you talking about?
It was a song called Hit 'Em Up.
And is it fair to say that in that song, Tupac is aggressively expressing his dislike for the members of Bad Boy Entertainment as well as other artists?
That's fair to say.
And as a result of that, you decided to change the security for Tupac or increase it?
Well, I was a part of the discussion and ultimately had to prove it, but I'm sure Mr. Knight, and possibly Mr. Shakur, and maybe the security officer that was primarily with them, we all agreed that he probably need another guy with him.
You know, can you pause that just as you're talking? First of all, diss songs are expensive. You make a diss record, now you have to beef up security. Diss songs are expensive, but it's just really interesting. A lot of people don't understand the cost of security. A lot of people don't go outside because security is so expensive. Because if they do go outside, they need to bring security. If they make appearances, they need to bring security. And so the more, obviously, the more famous and all that kind of stuff, you're going to need it. But also the more beefs you have, which, Death Row really had a lot of drama around the record label. Obviously, Bad Boy did as well. And because of all the drama, they had they had this type of issue with security. And so this is a lesson that I believe the hip hop community has learned over time, a lot over time. But remember, this is early hip hop. Hip hop was only just over 50 years old. And this was 30 years ago, right? So this was in the early stages of that, where a lot of these guys didn't understand what they were really getting themselves into and what they were up against. And so somebody who just, is a retired police officer like Reggie Wright, he's like, hey, I'm trying to make a little, money on the side, or, I want to continue to make money after my retirement. He's just thinking, oh, I can just hire a few off-duty police officers. I got 10 guys, and hey, you go and do security there, you go and do security here, and we're all good. That's not how it works. And he was able to find that out real quick. He was not equipped for it.
Yeah. Just before we continue, guys, please remember to hit that like button. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button as well. Just another way to support the channel and what we do here, guys.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. And thank you, Christina, as well. Jump to 22 minutes in this testimony. It's just a few minutes forward, but I want to jump to 22 minutes. Actually, you know what? Don't. Actually, he's going to talk about the award show in New York, and when Pac saw Biggie and started going after Biggie, and then how there was some guns drawn and so on and so forth. So let's hear that story, how things escalated even more in that situation. But the reason why they're telling this is not because of Pac and Biggie's story. It's because Keefe D was doing the same thing that James McDonald, which is Mob James, the witness before this one, that everyone's calling Unc. He was doing the same thing, but for Puff, right? So he was a South Side Crip, and he was basically a rent-a-crip for Puff. And Mob James was doing security as a gangbanger for Shook.
A gang from Compton being used by Bad Boy Entertainment when they came to the West Coast.
We had heard those rumors and we were familiar.
And what gang was that?
Compton South Side Crips.
Now, the South Side Crips, that was the same gang that you told us earlier that Mr. Davis belonged to. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And by Mr. Davis, I mean Keefe D.
That's what I believe he is. Yes.
Yeah. And then was there ever a time where Death Row and you and whatever other unofficial security Death Row had a clash with Bad Boy and the South Side Compton Crips at all?
Yes. We had it at a Soul Train Music Awards. I previously stated that Mr. Davis was with him, and I even think I might have even said that he was one of the ones close to the guy with the gun. Never said he was the one with the gun, but there's been out there, social media, where a gentleman has came out and admitted that he was the one that actually had the gun in that particular incident by the name of C. Gutter.
So do you remember? Well, I'm going to ask you what your independent recollection is. Tell us about that incident. So we're at the Soul Train. What is it? The Soul Train Music Awards?
Soul Train Music Awards.
And approximately what timeline are we looking at?
April, May of 95.
Of 95?
Sorry, 96.
Okay, of 96. And you had mentioned before the song Hit 'Em Up. Was this before or after the song Hit 'Em Up?
That was before Hit 'Em Up.
Okay, before Hit 'Em Up. Okay. Tell us what happened at the Soul Train Music Awards.
We pulled in. Originally, we had an entourage of about 50 people with us, but they only allowed two cars of us to get back in the back parking lot, because that's where they had all the setup and the motorhomes and stuff like that. So we drove in the back. Mr. Knight, Mr. Shakur, and a few of the outlaws was inside of a Hummer, and myself as Frank, which was Tupac security that night, Mr. Shakur's security that night. We drove in behind them. As we was getting out of the vehicle or getting ready to park, Mr. Shakur saw Christopher Wallace and Sophie and a group of people, a few guys that I recognized from the South Side, in that entourage. As they were, Mr. Shakur immediately became enraged and started yelling, and confrontation between Mr. Small, Biggie, and Mr. Shakur took place, to the point where one of their guys brandished a weapon. And then that's when I pulled my firearm towards him and begged with him, pleaded with him not to raise the gun. There was some security for the Nation of Islam there. They got in the middle of it, broke us up. The gentleman took off and ran towards the street in the parking lot.
I'm sorry, who ran towards the street?
The gentleman with the gun and a couple of the people that was with him took off and ran.
Now, you said that Southside was providing that type of backup.
They were with him in entourage.
Do you recall whether Duane Davis was one of those people?
I believe he was. I know he was with them, but like I said, I don't believe he was the one with the gun.
You saw that, right? See?
All right, let's.
Daddy's shaking his head no.
Daddy's shaking his head no, saying I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Now, oftentimes, I know that oftentimes people do that for the jury, but I hadn't seen him all trial and shake his head like that. So I feel like he's saying, I don't know what this guy's talking about. I was not there, but you could see him shake his head. You rewind it maybe 5 seconds. We'll see him shake his head one more time, and then we'll jump to 22, like I had mentioned.
This is one of those people.
I believe he was. I know he was with them, but like I said, I don't believe he was the one with the gun.
All right, let's fast forward to September. Yes.
And all the alcohol
It says they
And when
literally
you got
have no
the
evidence
point,
that he
they gonna point
rocked with Diddy
because-
like that. No, no evidence at all. Absolutely no evidence at all.
If everything goes smoothly tonight, there's a good chance we're gonna be able to get the permits transferred from the previous owners to Mr. Knight's.
So
name.
pause that.
It's
Did
on
you hear
the
what he said? If
Um,
everything goes smoothly tonight, there's a good chance that we can get the permits transferred from the previous owner to Shook's name. So Shook didn't actually, remember I said he didn't actually own the places because the permits weren't approved. So he probably had an agreement to purchase a place, but the permits for purchasing 662 weren't approved. And those permits could be things like permits to have like a nightclub or serve alcohol, permits like that. So those permits weren't actually approved. So technically, Suge Knight didn't actually own 662 yet. And Reggie Wright says he never actually ended up owning it because obviously you guys know that he went to prison right after that that night when Pac was shot because he's on camera kicking Orlando Anderson, and that was a violation of his parole.
First, you're talking about you got advice from an attorney. Do you remember who that attorney was?
Yes, sir.
Who was that attorney?
George Calise.
Okay. And then when you got the advice from the attorney was generally telling you got to be on your P's and Q's, so to speak.
Yes.
When you're talking about being on your P's and Q's so that the club can be transferred to Suge Knight, was Club 662 at that time in Mr. Knight's name?
No, it was perceived that it was. People believed it, even because of the name change. Excuse me. But it hasn't officially been, the paperwork hasn't officially, it never was completed. It was never done.
Now, you talk about the name change. Explain to us a little bit about the name change.
Well, we had a sign and all of that called Club 662.
Explain to us what 662 means.
662 on the keyboard of your phone, it will spell out the word MOB, which means members of the Bloods.
Well, nobody has keyboards on their phones anymore.
I forgot about that.
And so the club itself, the name of the club itself rang out that it was a blood-affiliated club.
That's correct.
Now, what advice did Mr. Kalisis give you regarding being on your P's and Q's for that night in order for Suge Knight to be able to obtain approval for running that club?
So he advised, and the main thing that came out of that meeting was he advised all of my security guards, even though that they were authorized to carry guns, being off-duty police officers and stuff, that we shouldn't have guns on our possession inside of the club on that night.
So your understanding was, or at least the advice that you got was, inside Club 662, if you're working it for right-way security,
Correct.
you're not carrying that.
Yes, sir.
So inside, they couldn't carry guns. As you guys can see, Reggie Wright is sitting there. She's saying, I want to get the permits approved. So if everything goes smoothly tonight, we might be able to get the permits approved. So he's telling his security guys, you can't bring guns in the club. But obviously the Pirus, like Mob James just had mentioned in the previous testimony, he said, we all had guns. We walked in and we had guns inside. So the Pirus had guns inside. The right-way security did not go inside with guns, and then you had the police outside as well, the Las Vegas PD or the Metro Police. All right, let's jump to 20. I want to jump to 40 minutes and 44 seconds. 40 minutes. Yeah, let's jump to the 40-minute mark in his testimony, which you have it right there. Thank you. This is when he contradicts what Mob James says. Right? Remember, Mob James said that Shook came back to the club and they partied and he had a bandage on his head after the shooting. Right? Remember that. He said he went back to the club after the shooting. He had a bandage on his head and they all thought Pac was going to be fine. Now, let's see what Reggie Wright says.
Super that was black, and he had one bullet hole to the driver's side fender.
Now, let's go back to, you're on your way back to, or you're on your way over to UMC. What happens at UMC?
Get there.
That's the hospital,
Of course,
by the way.
you know, Mr. Knight and Mr. Shakur was in the emergency room. I didn't get to see Mr. Knight until about 3 hours later. I saw him, but there was a lot of people gathering.
Hey, pause that.
People heard what happened.
So he said he didn't see Shook until like 3 hours later. So like we're deep into the next morning now, right? Early next morning. He said 3 hours later. right? And then listen to what he says now.
From the club, they started gathering there, and people were just starting to gather, and in the parking lot outside of the hospital.
Was Mr. Knight held at UMC for a long time, or like for weeks, or what happened with Mr. Knight?
No, Mr. Knight was released. I left prior. I don't know why I left. I left prior to him getting released about 4 or 5 that morning. So I know I was back at his house.
I left prior to him getting released about 4 or 5 that morning. That's not true. Because if that means he got released after 4 or 5 a.m. because you left before, at around 4 or 5. Right? I left around 4 or 5. That was prior to him getting released. But Mob James is saying, no, he was at the club with us later on. So unless the club was still pumping at 6, 7 a.m., which is possible, that didn't happen. That's 2 conflicting stories, because Mob James describes him having a bandage on his head.
It's home secure, and I know I was back at his house about 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. that morning. I was with him all that day.
After all this, or sometime during this, do you make contact with your father?
Yes, sir.
How do you do that?
By phone. I called him a couple of times throughout the night. Told him when it just happened to Suge and Mr. Shakur. It's kind of stressful for me. Called him a few times that night.
How are you calling him?
By cell phone.
You had a cell phone at the time?
Yes, sir.
And was there anything that you felt you had to relate to him in order to let him know what might be happening the next day?
Well, during that night or that early morning, I was getting information from people in the parking lot and around that, hey, they got into it at the MGM with some guys from South Side Compton Crips. And so I relayed that to him. They didn't know who the people were, just that they got into it with some guys from South Side. And I told them, hey, it's going to be trouble back in Compton.
When did you go back to Compton? When did you go back to California?
About 2 weeks later.
So you were in town while Mr. Shakur was at the hospital.
The whole time he was at the hospital, and the following week as well.
What was your role while Mr. Shakur was in the hospital?
I had 2 guys assigned outside his door the whole time he was fighting for his life, and they were there just to. We had problems with. I remember a candy striper. I tried to sneak up and take a picture of him while he was lying, fighting for his life, and we were just trying to keep people out. Of course, Mr. Shakur, his mother, was in charge, but just mainly trying to keep people out that she didn't want in or got her permission to come in to see Mr. Shakur while he was fighting for his life.
And then you had said after Mr. Shakur had passed, you stayed in Vegas for another week.
That's correct.
Why is that?
Well, I'm the one that actually received his ashes, and had one of my security guys by the name of James Green fly back with the ashes, and eventually delivered them to someone in the family. I believe it was the mother, but if it wasn't her, it was somebody that she authorized to receive the ashes.
But you weren't the person that delivered the ashes.
James Green was.
You received the ashes and
Yes.
then gave it
To James. Yeah.
All right, let's jump to 48. That's when he starts. That's when they start playing the tape of the incident in the casino. And so he starts identifying the people that are on the tape in the incident in the casino. And we can't play too.
Jay, your mic is muted. I can't hear you.
I think my can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so we're gonna jump to 44. Sorry, 48. Let's jump to 48, and they're gonna show the surveillance footage at the casino. He's gonna start identifying some people at the casino.
Yeah, for the record, this is State's Exhibit 115B at 7 minutes and 4 seconds. Actually, before we start playing, Mr. Wright, have Have you seen the MGM video before?
Yes, sir.
It's fair to say you've seen it more than once.
Yes, sir.
And that partly because it was part of a revocation proceeding that involved Suge Knight.
That's correct.
Now I'm going to show you 115B, starting at 7:04. I'm clicking. 1 second, not just yet. I'm clicking right. This is the video that you've seen before?
That's correct, sir.
I'm gonna pause. Starting at 7:20. 7:20. Did you recognize the folks that were hitting Mr. Anderson there?
Hitting or kicking?
Hitting or kicking? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Who were they?
The gentleman in the white with the black hat on was
We'll try and coordinate this up again. Oh, can you see it?
I can see that. Yes. Sir.
Oh, okay. Well, then can you tell us the people who are involved in this?
That gentleman right there in the white is Buntry, Alton McDonald.
There appears to be somebody in a gold shirt. Who was that?
That appeared to be Mr. Shakur.
There's a person in gray on gray, looks like outfit. Do you know who that is?
The one that I saw that's right in front of Mr. McDonald right now is Roger Williams.
Okay.
I thought it was blue. I saw
Okay.
that blue.
Maybe I'm talking about the wrong thing. You're talking about this.
Yeah. Well, that's Mr. Knight, and then that's Mr. Williams.
And then, so you see Mr. Williams, Mr. Knight, Mr. Shakur. Those are the people that are evident to you in this portion of the video. Is that
That's
right?
correct, sir.
And then we have another video of everybody leaving.
The next video that they play for him, we can't actually see. He's just identifying some more people, but that's as they're running through the casino, and then
See it, but
That's good. That's it.
you can go ahead and pause that. And then I want to jump into the next video. There's a YouTuber that put I couldn't find back the cross-examination. So there's a YouTuber that actually posted it. I want to shout them out, and their watermark is on the screen as well. But if we could jump into that video, that's at 48 minutes. But as you're doing that, see, tell me what you think about Reggie Wright. Do you think this guy is? I know that you don't know much about him outside of what you're seeing right now. So as a juror, if you're a juror, do you think he's credible as a witness?
There's some inconsistencies. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
If you've seen Reggie Wright do interviews in the past, I've seen like he lies so much.
Oh,
I
I've
mean,
never.
he's not as bad as Gene Deal. Gene Deal's the worst. He's not as bad as Gene Deal, but that's because Gene Deal has a personal vendetta against Puff, and Gene Deal's always just wants to see Puff burn. But the Reggie Wright is also he fabricates, he does a lot of that stuff, and this is what the defense attorney brings up as soon as they start. He brings up the fact that Reggie Wright has been making money from telling these stories. Now, he does it for two reasons. The first reason is obviously to discredit the witness, because Reggie Wright actually, in his testimony, as the defense attorney is cross-examining him, he does admit, I think that he killed Pac. He says it on the stand, right? So you want to discredit that person off the bat, but he's also doing it because he wants to show the jury that Keefe D was doing the same thing. He was also just making up stories and embellishing things so he can get a check from these podcasts and so on and so forth. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that now. Let's jump into the defense attorney cross-examining Reggie Wright, and then we'll wrap it up.
case or I think Hollywood ass attorney. I think you had said something like that.
Oh,
right?
yeah, by
Well,
the
you
way,
get about 10
that
interviews.
part right there, pause it. You could rewind it just a little bit. And shout out Court Watch with Cat Not Williams. That's the channel, Court Watch with Cat Not Williams. So shout out to them. That's where I got this footage from. But anyways, my point is he actually was on a podcast trashing Keefe D's attorney. I think he called him some Hollywood ass attorney that doesn't know what he's doing or something like that. So the defense attorney is actually right now checking him for saying that. So let's watch this.
Podcast or YouTube channel. And once again, I don't think it was anything derogatory. It was more like he's never tried a criminal case or I think Hollywood ass attorney. I think you had said something like that, right?
Well, you did about 10 interviews in the last 2 months, so I may have said something like that.
Now, in terms of your podcast stuff, it's just a pretty good point. At some point, you had actually instructed Keefe that, hey, he can actually make money doing the YouTube stuff. Remember that?
It didn't go quite like that, but I did pass his number to a few YouTube channels after he and I had this discussion about doing something on my channel, but I refused to pay him. I'm not giving someone I believe is Tupac killer money.
Sure.
Whoa,
you had
whoa.
a interview
Stop. Do you guys just hear that? So he just said that we were supposed to do something on my YouTube channel, right? He said I was supposed to do something with Keefe on my channel, but I'm not giving money to somebody who I think is Tupac's killer. But you give him advice and you pass his number to somebody so he can go and get money over there? That doesn't make any sense. If you play it back, he says, I gave him advice. I said, you can make money. And I gave his number to somebody else so that he can go and make money with them. But I didn't want him on my channel because I didn't want to give money to somebody I think was Tupac's killer. So I'm going to go and help them get money over there. That makes no sense. Yeah, Christina says, yes, we all heard that. Like, play it again. Go ahead. Sure, Aretha says, sure did. What?
After he and I had this discussion about doing something on my channel, but I refused to pay him. I'm not giving someone I believe is Tupac killer money.
Sure. You had a interview with a Mr. Monk. Do you remember that?
Detective Monk, yes, sir.
Was he a detective at the time?
He was.
Okay, so he's a detective at the time, and he sat down with you, and you had a conversation with him.
Pause that real quick.
And you basically
Atlanta Bird says it makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense to me because whether I give you money or whether I help you get money, it's still the same thing. It may not be money out of my pocket, but let's be real. Any money that he would have given for him coming on onto his channel, he's making it back because he's going to get paid for having that interview on his channel. So even if you did give somebody money, I give you $10, but I made $100. Right. So I'm making money from having you on my channel in the first place. So that really actually doesn't make any sense either. But I don't understand if you could explain that to me. How does it make sense for me to say, I'm not going to give you money because I don't like you because you killed one of my friends and ruined my life because that is where I got most of my money. And then, but I can send your number to this guy and you can go work with him and I'll put in a word for you and you can go and get money with him. To me, it don't make any sense. Help is help. Whether I help you by giving you a platform and paying you a little bit of the profits that you make me by joining me on my channel, or I help you by putting you in the right direction and giving your phone number to somebody and getting them to make money over there, right? It says he's saying he's not going to pay him. Yeah, I understand. But the way I take it is helping somebody. Whether I help you by paying you or whether I got you. You know what, Atlanta Bird Gang? I understand what you're saying now. So what Atlanta Bird Gang is saying that maybe you guys didn't understand, but I understand now. He's saying he's not going to pay him. In other words, he wanted Keefe D to come on the channel for free, and Keefe D was asking for money. I feel like that's where you're going with that, Atlanta Bird Gang. I feel like what you're saying is Keefe D was saying, I want to get paid if I come on your channel. And he was like, I'm not paying you, but they will pay you. I think that's what Atlanta Bird Gang is saying. And I could see that side. I could see that point if that's what you're saying. All right, continue.
That you had advised Keefe D about the, I don't know, how much you can get paid doing YouTube stuff. Remember that?
I don't remember that, no.
Now, you don't remember that, or you don't believe that?
I remember Kevin Compton, but to say you can make $5,000 or $10,000, I didn't have any conversation like that with Detective Malls.
Okay, so you don't know or you don't remember. I just want to make sure we're different here.
I remember meeting with Detective Malls. I know I am the one that started passing Mr. Davis' number around to do more interviews to get him to talk. Yes.
Okay, so when you volunteered to Detective Mogg, Keefe D's number, you said, I set him up with a couple of interviews.
Correct.
And because I promised you, if y'all ever listen, I promised him I would. You know, we talk bad about each other, but you know, I'll hook you up. I'm kind of know all these YouTubers out here, and so I kind of hook people up with them. Quote, you want to make some money, N-word, unquote. And then question was asked by Detective Mogg, so what do you get paid for your interviews? And you respond, oh, I get about $2,500, $3,000 a show. You remember that?
That's accurate, so I might have said that.
Now you also said 5,000. I got my F. He was crying about his taxes. You're referring to Keefe in that, right? He was crying about his taxes, Keefe?
I'm not sure.
I got him about to go blast them next week. He's getting 3,500. So they pay you because they get views. They get paid, man. YouTube, every million views you get about 6,000 to 10,000. And then
That's the channel,
okay,
not the person.
and then once again, I'm talking about the YouTuber. And so if you do a bunch of them and you get 100,000, and they break them up into like 5 or 10 minute segments, and you can get a 15-second segments from me, and you get 200,000 people to view it, you can make $8,000 to $10,000 off of me. And you just gave me 2,500, 3,000. You remember saying that to Detective Mogg?
I'm sure those sound like accurate statements, so
It's
I'm
an
sure I did.
And once again, it's clear to show that there's a business with YouTube, right?
That's correct, sir.
And so when you post something online, you're posting it online with the hopes that you're going to get paid for that.
Yeah, and that didn't start until about 2021.
Sure.
Yeah, I love this angle. Because he's bringing the fact that a lot of these guys are running around saying stuff in interviews because, let's be honest, it's tough to make a living if you really didn't have that much talent in the first place, right? So Reggie, just like Gene Deal, just like Reggie Wright, right? They never really had talent. They worked security, and he was a police officer, and he had hired a bunch of other police officers. A lot of people could do that, right? So he was really eating off of the fact that he built a relationship with Death Row, but then Death Row was no more. I mean, it's back now, but it was no more for a long period of time. So how is he getting paid? Remember, he said 95% of his income came from Death Row, right? So if you don't really have that much talent to begin with, you're trying to hustle and trying to get money, or at least you're not using the talents that God gave you. You're trying to get money through these interviews and make a living over time. And it's the same thing that Keefe D was doing, right? All of the things that you've seen, his book, his DJ Vlad interview, his interviews and his participation in the Death Row special on BET, all of that, right? He's getting paid for it. So these guys are literally getting paid to tell the best, most salacious stories, the behind the scenes, the exclusive stories that you possibly can. Now, again, I believe that Keefe was in the car. About orchestrating it, I don't know about the orchestrating it part. I feel like Orlando got his ass beat, and he's a highly decorated Crip himself. He didn't need it to be orchestrated. It was on site. And he saw him later that night, and that's what happened. I don't think that Keefe D needed to orchestrate that or to put a battery in his back. He got his ass beat. He's already on 10. He didn't need any more encouragement. And so, but I believe he was there. I believe Keefe was in the car. And I believe a lot of the things he was saying is true. But the defense attorney is literally just breaking it down because he's planting the seed that he's saying a lot of these things in the interview because they're making money from it. And I was about to call him Gene Deal. Reggie Wright, he's been doing this and he knows the game, and he's the one encouraging Keefe D about it. He's saying, hey, you can make this much money. I get paid $3,500, X, Y, and Z for X amount of views. You can get paid X amount of dollars, X, Y, and Z. So he's putting him on the same content game by telling the same story over and over again for 30 years. Let's continue.
After COVID. Yes.
Now, with regards to your role here, you were the head of security for Suge Knight.
Correct.
And I want to make sure I'm clear. Where did you grow up in Compton?
I mean, my address is 1628 East Pine Street, Compton, California.
Where's that at in terms of, because we're assuming, and you could tell this jury otherwise, that wherever you grew up or whatever your street was, you by default was part of a certain gang or color.
I never gang banged. Always wanted to be a police officer growing up. However, guys that I grew up with, was in the sandbox with, played sports with, yeah, they were Mob Piru's affiliate.
Okay.
Some police officers, some football players,
Right.
several type of people grew up in our community.
And at some point, you get yourself out of it. You become a police officer.
I never was in it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for correcting me. You become a police officer for about 5 years.
90 to 96, 6 years. Yeah,
6 years, and you have to retire medically.
correct.
And you had shared with us earlier that you created this security company. You were moonlighting, sort of doing your job during the day and then doing this other side hustle at night.
I like making my podcast. I don't like.
I do. Thanks for that, C. Appreciate it. But shout out to everybody on here. I appreciate you guys joining us today. This is the last testimony, so we're going to wrap up, but we will be back tomorrow. But continue, C. This is the last testimony we're going over today.
Accurate.
And that side hustle became your full-time gig when you were no longer a police officer.
That's correct, sir.
And so in terms of who you were, the main service you provided services for would have been death row records.
95%. That's correct, sir.
And in essence, I mean, was your number one client, right?
I agree with you.
Okay. And you spent a lot of time with Suge.
Eventually that grew, but yes. 94, not as much. 95, 96, yes, sir.
Okay. And you're providing services for Suge in terms of security, right?
For Suge or his company?
For the death row label.
That's
Okay.
correct, sir.
And you actually had created a company specifically for the security aspect of it, right?
That's fair.
And that's the right
Way, protective services.
protective services. Okay. Now, as you're going about doing that, you had shared with us a little bit about some of the things you had done, and you shared with us that hey, there was something that happened at one of the award ceremony. You talked about that, right?
At the Soul Train, that's correct.
And you said that at that Soul Train incident, that my client was present when some other guy flashed a gun or something like that.
That's correct.
It wasn't
your client.
Okay. And once again, your security, your former police officer, did you ever report that incident to police?
They ran. Actually, police detained the subjects outside the gate or towards the gate. What happened to them, I don't know, because I was more interested in getting my clients inside the war show.
And your father, just to correct my memory, is a lieutenant at the time with Compton. Or was he captain?
At that time, lieutenant, sir. Yes, sir.
And his role and what he was responsible for was the gangs in Compton.
That's correct, sir.
So it would have been information he would have maybe picked up or you would have told him?
That's what people get confused about law enforcement. Compton is a city about 8 to 10 miles away from, well, that's by UFC is where this incident happened. That's about 3 miles away from Compton.
Fun fact, by the way.
And so Compton.
See, and then you could fast forward just a few minutes. Fun fact, Compton PD is no longer. Compton used to have their own police department, and they do not have their own police department anymore. And the reason why is because the police department, the one that he worked at, the one that his father worked at, was so corrupt that they just shut down the entire police department. Literally, they just shut down the entire police. It was so corrupt with gang members that are actually police officers, but really gang members, and people like him moonlighting as security. And it was just such a corrupt police force that they actually shut the entire thing down. Fun fact.
I'm going to show you here an image. I'm going to ask the clerk to mark as proposed offenses even next in order.
See, I think. Yes.
See?
Yep.
May I, John?
You may.
You recognize this?
That's Club 662, yes, sir.
And with regards to, I'm sorry, and with regards to that photograph, would that have been an accurate depiction of 662 around the time period that we talked about here?
I agree with you, sir. Yes, sir.
Now,
Shout out Hollywood T.
Alright,
That's absolutely correct. That's what we're going through. We're going through his lies. I said, shout out Hollywood T. She said, lying Reggie wrote it. That's what we're going through. We're going through his lies.
So admit.
May I call this, Your Honor?
You may.
I'll show this to Jerry here real quick. So this is a picture of 662. Now, you shared with us a little bit about what was happening on Saturday night. Attorney basically says, hey, we really want to get this club, I guess, passed in terms of its licensing. Maybe we do something that helps the community, at least does an outreach. Is that what we're doing?
I think that was mainly to get the police officers there.
Okay. And with regards to that particular night and so forth, you said it's something to do with boxing. This is a various boxing benefit. Is that what that was?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So this picture would have been taken pretty much at the time of when this event had gone down in September of 1996.
I believe that night or
Yeah.
or that week, yes, sir.
And with regard to Barry's boxing, do you know anything about what Barry's boxing is about?
Just that he was a retired police officer that was helping young kids in the area with boxing. That was about it. Or association or foundation to raise money for youth coming up. This is what I remember.
So Mob James just testified a little while ago.
Okay.
If his representation was there was no event like that was happening in September of 1996, would he be wrong?
Let me just say this. They don't be in the know like that, We're not as transparent as maybe we should be with the homeboys.
I mean, but obviously this is sitting on the front sign of the entrance going into the facility, right?
I went to that club and I ain't never noticed that.
Well, let me ask you this though. In terms of what was happening, was Mob James the head of security that night?
So James' responsibility is he had a lot of juice with the homeboys, and they have something they call Code Red, where everybody come out and support each other. And James was that person that should look to, even during the Snoop trial, when Snoop was having problems with his homeboys coming up here, messing with him and stuff. They were hired to be outside the courthouse to keep them away, and that was James' role. So, and James was with Suge at the beginning, and quite frankly, he might be a little upset that my guys kind of took a lot of their roles or their responsibilities.
Right. So on this particular night, there's actually Metropolitan police officers that were they hired by you to be on the outside?
Well, I would say Club 662 or under Mr. Khaleesi and the person that was running the club under their direction. I knew they were going to be there, but I didn't speak to anyone from the police department to say, this is how much y'all going to be getting paid. I need you to do this. I just knew they were going to be working from the door out.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. And really, the concern at this particular point that you had, as well as I'm assuming Mr. Khaleesi as the attorney, is you wanted to make sure everything was going to go well for the club.
That's correct. That's fair.
In essence, and to help Suge with passing up this particular club. Right.
That's correct, sir.
So one of the things that had happened that you had shared with us is that Friday you meet with Khaleesi and you learn and you're instructed that your people are not to be carrying firearms.
Inside the nightclub.
Right, inside of the nightclub.
That's correct.
All the way up until the time that they get to that door, they're not supposed to be carrying firearms.
Inside the club.
Are you aware that the Red Alert people from Mob James were all carrying firearms that night?
Well, I had problems with that. My guys were strict in law enforcement. They didn't care about, they didn't have a relationship with James and them as I did. And so they would search them. And if they got one in, who knows? But there was always issues with them about being searched. But my guys would still, they were like, hey, if you want us here, we searching everybody coming to this club.
Right, so that was important for you, but Mob James says otherwise. He says everyone's
okay. If they snuck them in,
and
it happens.
And yeah, and with regards to your meeting with Mr. Kalissis. Once again, you're there, and do you have at that particular point any ownership interest at all in Death Row Records?
None.
So you are a separate entity. You are just the security company hired to provide security for Death Row Records.
My company, right way, was making money, but I also received a salary from Death Row.
Okay. So, and you're in this meeting, and once again, the meeting is to help Suge get this club approved so you can make it happen.
That's correct, sir.
And your job is really honestly is just somebody who's providing the security to the club.
Wow.
All right. So, perfect. So we're going to leave it there, guys. Reggie Wright, his stories are very, very inconsistent. Especially even if you look at the things that he said on the stand, it's different than a lot of the things that he said on his podcast or whatever and other interviews. He flip-flops and he changes his stories all the time. He's not a credible witness, and we've seen it already. Go ahead, C.
Yeah, you can expect that to happen too with these people who have their podcasts, like Reggie Wright or Gene Deal, or Gene, who has been on podcasts too, because they, the lie is more entertaining than the truth. So they're gonna say stuff that don't cooperate, and then when they're placed in positions like this, then they say something different.
Or sometimes they stick to the lie. That's what Cassie did. Remember the stuff with her book, and she stuck to some of the lies that she said in the book. Like, these people are writing books and all this stuff in order to sell it, right? Now, like I said, I 110% believe that Keffe D was in the car, and I believe that a lot of the stuff that he said was true. But it's not what you know or what you believe. It's what you could prove in the court of law. And now today's day 3 of this trial. We'll see if today the prosecution can finally come with some sort of facts, some sort of evidence that Keffe D, first of all, was even in Las Vegas. They haven't even proven that yet. Remember yesterday we were talking about it? Do you have a receipt from a hotel, car rental receipt? Do you have a gas station receipt? Do you have him on video or on camera in any of these hotel rooms? Do you have an airplane ticket? Do you have a video or camera of him at the casino? There's nothing. They haven't put an eyewitness on the stand to even say we had dinner with him that night, or we went to gamble that night. Nothing. They haven't been able to put anybody on the stand to even say that they even seen him in Las Vegas, let alone seen him in the car and involved, right? Like I said, do I believe he was? Yes, but that's not the point. It's what you could prove. And they haven't been able to prove anything. We're already in day 3 today. They put Reggie Wright on. Reggie Wright said, I was at 662. I didn't see him. I wasn't there. I hadn't seen him the entire time. I heard that they got into it at the MGM, but really that was just a bunch of Pirus getting into it, and Pac getting into it with Orlando Anderson. Where was Keefe D? Wasn't there? Right? So they haven't been able to get anybody to say, hey, I saw him at this place at this time. And they have no receipts in 30 years. So so if you're making money from podcasting, if I'm the defense, I'm like, you make money from podcasting, you make money from doing interviews, you make money from YouTube, and you make money from selling a book. So he's just saying a bunch of salacious stories so he can make money. That's part of the way it's his hustle right now. That has nothing to do with the fact that you can't say that he was actually there. These are just things that he's saying, right? The evidence can't just be his own words when he's getting paid for those words. It has to be more than that. They even put Mob James on the stand. Mob James said, no, I was at 662. He said, did you see Keffe there? No. Were you there? No. Right? And you can't even say, well, how do you know that Keffe was the one? Oh, members of the people who were there told me. Because that's hearsay. You would have to get those people, those actual people who were there in the caravan as part of the entourage or security who was actually there on the strip while the shooting took place, to come and say, yes, I saw it. Otherwise, it's just hearsay. You can't say that somebody told me who's not going to be a witness. Right? So that's not permitted. This is a really, really tough case for the I don't even know why the prosecution brought this to trial. I really don't. There's not enough evidence. And it must be frustrating for some people, especially diehard Pac fans, or people who just really want somebody to take responsibility for what happened to Pac. It's really, really frustrating for those people because they're like, I know what happened. We all know what happened. We know who did it, but you can't prove anything. Right? So today's day 3 of the trial. We'll see if they prove anything. You guys know I'll be here tomorrow covering day 3 of the trial. And we'll see if they can make any headway by then. But right now it's 2-0. 2-0 for the defense. There was a little bit of a blunder, I believe, like I told you guys earlier with the defense attorney and Mob James, especially towards the end of the cross-examination. But overall, as I think Ilya said yesterday, defense is putting belt to ass. And to be honest, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. All right, y'all. I will see you guys tomorrow. I appreciate everybody being here. Go and be great. Greatness is a choice, and you make that choice each and every moment and of each and every day. And I actually want to give a special thank you for C still doing the live today, even though he hasn't been feeling good. As you guys can see, he's not on camera. He's under the weather. So I appreciate C still being doing the live today with us. All right, y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Appreciate it. Peace.
In the air like a chopper. Hearsay punching Johnny Walker. Somebody tell the police they just can't stop us. Like a helicopter, spin out your rags in the air like a chopper. Hearsay punching Johnny Walker. Somebody tell the police they just can't stop us. Oh, when me choppers them. 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 Rags with me, flags with me, rags with me, flags with me, rags with me, flags with me. Yo, spin your rags in the air like a chopper. Wave your rags like a helicopter. Spin out your rags in the air like a chopper. Round and round like a helicopter. Spin your rags in the air like a chopper. Wave your rags like a helicopter. Spin your rags in the air like a chopper. Hi, choppers fly, helicopters. We drunk cause we drink like a fish in the water. So high like the world spinning faster. Dripping with sweat but it don't really matter. The music making me ball out. We see ladies and we call out. Them girls and them whining all out. Look a fight in the back, them brawl out. What? Me no business about that. Girls on me mind, so me thinking about that. Woman in the place, so me hunting for that. Bumpers in me face, so me on the attack. Just give me Henny, yo, give me Stag. No racial thing, white oak, Johnny Black. Oh gosh, I could catch a jet lag. 1919 does have me feeling high. Like a helicopter, spin out your rags in the air like a chopper. Hearsay punching Johnny Walker. Somebody